Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Live Team Alliance training session for Wednesday, June 19th, 2019. Time right now is approximately 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I appreciate everyone's patience. Before we get started with training, I would like to welcome our new students, those of you who are joining us in training for the first time. Whether you're here live or you are watching the replay of this, you have definitely made a wise choice by choosing to train here with us. There's going to be a great deal of information that is going to be shared with you. In the process of that, there's going to be a lot that you're going to learn about yourself in the process as well. The market has a very distinct way of exposing you. It's going to let you know the levels of patience and discipline that you actually lack at this current time. The good thing about that is that you're in the right environment to rectify that absence. And as you train and you get deeper and deeper into the training, as you get deeper and deeper into what it is that we actually do, and you begin to exercise increased levels of patience and discipline over time, you'll see that it has a very powerful effect on what your results are going to be long term. And this is something that we're doing for the long term. It's not a short-term deal. You know, it's not like running a sprint. We're in the marathon. This is what we do. So it will behoove you to just take your time, navigate your way through training at your own pace. Don't rush things, because you can't rush the process. The process has to take place and unfold as you begin to unfold yourself. There's a lot that you are not aware of yet that you're going to be tested with, as far as some people call it temptation. But the real temptation is really just greed. People have a habit of wanting money now. You know, they want results yesterday. And the time that it requires in order to develop the true skill that produces consistent results, that's what people have such a hard time with. The patience part, the discipline part. But as I mentioned, you're in the right place, you're in the correct environment in order for you to develop those things. And you will develop them. The speed at which you develop them, of course, is going to be determined by you. So again, I just would encourage you, as you train, to ask questions. If you have questions about anything, don't hold back the questions. Even if you feel that it's a silly question, or, you know, oh, this is a newbie question, I don't know anything, this, that, and the third. It doesn't matter. Ask your questions. Some of the best clarity and some of the best content comes from the questions that people ask when they first get here. All right? All right, so we're going to just dive right in to the training. So, also, if you're new, inside of the playlist that I shared with you, video number 336 and video number 301, those are the two trainings that I want you to begin with. And in fact, video number 301 needs to remain on repeat, literally. So there is basically never going to come a time that you stop watching that training. Even if you watch other trainings, like if you choose to watch the replay of tonight or a different one in the playlist, all of that is fine. But I encourage you to incorporate number 301 into your watch list, because you need to get acclimated thoroughly with the process and with the protocol that we use. That training in particular brings you up to speed, and it's going to allow you to improve upon the knowledge as you continue to watch it over and over again. It's through repetition that we learn. Okay, so just keep watching that training. Just to give a basic foundation for where we're starting from. This platform that we're using is called Nadex. That's what you're looking at right now on the screen. On this platform, we're able to trade instruments called binaries. We trade specifically 5-minute binary options. We only use one market in order to trade the binaries with. The market that I happen to use is the Great British Pound / USD, or the pound dollar, as it is commonly referred to as. Whatever market you're the most comfortable with is the one that I would recommend that you watch and study and observe. Even if it's not this particular one, but whatever one it is, you need to stick to your market and do not try to look at other markets. There's too many different types of nuances that you have to familiarize yourself with one market. So for you to try to do that with 3 or 4, it makes no sense whatsoever. You will not master one by trying to master 4. Okay, so just focus on one. Now, on this platform, binaries are very simple. The binaries are what you see up here in the this area of the platform, which is called the binary ladder. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Man. This is the binary ladder. It's called the ladder because you can see that the prices of the options stair-step their way down, starting from the highest going down to the lowest number. So, for example, 2687, that's the top one. 2679 is the bottom one. And they're basically separated by 2 pips apart. Okay? The reason that these numbers are what they are right now is because of where the actual market itself is. Okay? The time next to it, right there where it says 940, is letting you know the time that this current binary will expire. So this binary will actually expire in another 2 minutes and 35 seconds, as you can see from the clock. At 2:35, these options expire, and in order for you to win a binary, you have to be correct about where the price ends relative to the actual option that you have selected. So, for example, let's look at one. 2683 is this black horizontal line down here on the chart. This line. Now, that line is reflecting this option right here, the one in the middle, 2683. That's this line. If you're buying, in order for you to win the trade for this option, the price of the market has to remain above the line. Like right now, it's slightly above the line by about 2 or 3 micropips. It has to end there by the time the clock runs out in order for you to win this trade. That's how binaries work. If it does not end there, like how you see now, you see how the price went underneath the line? Now it's under the line, so if you bought, if the price ends underneath the line, you're going to lose this trade. And binaries are just as simple as that. So you can trade whatever direction you choose. You can trade whatever strike price you choose. And the basic premise is that you have to be correct about where the market ends relative to the strike price that you have selected. So the market is what you see the candle actually doing right now on the chart. The candles are being painted as a result of the price of the market itself. So the market price is reflected by what's called the indicative. That's displayed up here in the binary ladder as well, and it's also displayed down here on the chart where you see the candle moving. So that black box right there with the white number in it, that's the price of the market. It's the same. Sorry about that. It's the same as the indicative, but it moves slightly different down here on the chart. The indicative is the number that we go by, and we actually look at the indicative from another point of view, which is from the ticket. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you pull up a ticket, the indicative is also on the ticket where it says Nadex Indicative Index. Okay? So the Nadex Indicative Index and the indicative price, they are the exact same thing. They're moving the exact same way. they are the same number. This number down on the chart, it's the same number, but it moves slightly different. So there's a slight difference in the way that the movement is on the chart versus the indicative price on the ticket and up here in the binary ladder. Okay, it moves a little different. The number that we always want to go by is the indicative price on the ticket. The reason I'm saying that is because the ticket is going to give you all of the information that you need for the whole trade, the entire trade, when everything is setting up, and even when you're doing your observation and you're studying the market, you still can do it from the ticket and have all the relevant information right there in front of you from this right here, this ticket. Okay? Now, we use a protocol, and our protocol is very simple. We take into consideration the environment of the market, the environment of the market represents the speed. In other words, how fast is the market moving? So, very simple question that you always ask. How fast is the market moving? We need to know that in advance. And what that will do for us is it will put us in a position where we can have productive time on the chart when we're actually observing the market. We need to see how fast the market is moving. If the market is moving outside of our requirement, then we just simply wait for the market to move within our requirement. And our requirement is a slow market. So we want the market to slow down, and we want it specifically to slow down to a speed of 1 micropip. In other words, every time that the price moves, if you look at the pricing on the indicative, the last digit changes. Look at what it's doing right now. It's at 6, it's going to change. That last digit, it's at 7, going to change again. It's at 4, see that? It just moved by 3. Went from 4 to 3, moved by 1. 3 to 4, moved by 1. 4 to 3, moved by 1. 3 to 4, moved by 1. 4 to 6, just moved by 2. 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. So you can see that we're seeing a variety of different numbers every time that that last digit is changing. What we want to see is that the movement predominantly is only 1 micropip. Not 3, not 2, not 4. We don't want to see 2s, 4s, 3s more frequently than we're seeing 1s. We want to see 1 the most frequently. We want to see 1 the most often every time that that price changes, because that's going to let us know that the dominant speed is 1 micropip, and that's exactly what we're waiting to see. So once we have determined that we have 1 micropip of dominant speed, now we know that that first phase, which is called environment, which is how fast is the market moving, that phase, or phase 1, is confirmed once we see that there's dominance of 1 micropip of speed in the market. Until we have that, we continue to wait. We just wait for phase 1 to confirm, meaning that we wait for the market to slow down. We wait for the dominance of 1 micropip of speed. The reason that I'm saying that is because even though we have 2 other phases, it doesn't make sense for you to go any further than the phase that you're in. So in other words, until the phase that you're in confirms, you don't go to the next phase. Because automatically, if you try to get to phase 3 where you're actually applying the rule set, all of the trades are going to DQ anyway. So it doesn't even make sense to waste your time attempting to apply parameters or rules with the expectation of them being validated at some point, because it's not going to be validated if the market is moving too fast because phase one has not been confirmed yet. Or even by the time we get into phase two, which is behavior, if the behavior is not where we need it to be, then the market will also disqualify the parameters. So it doesn't even make sense to go on to the next phase. Whatever phase you're in is the phase that you need to remain in until it confirms. So, for example, if the market is currently moving too fast, we know to just remain in phase one until phase one is confirmed, meaning that the market slows down. And it slows down to a predominant speed of 1 micropip. Now, once the first phase confirms, we then move on to the next phase. Okay? The next phase is behavior. Behavior simply means how is the price moving. And the way that we determine how price moves is by looking at the way that price moves relative to what we needed to do by the end of the binary. So this is another simple question. Just like with speed, the question is simply how fast is the market moving. Whatever the speed is letting you know what the current environment in the market is. Right now, when we shift into behavior, whatever the actual behavior is letting us know whether or not the behavior that we're looking for is present or is getting closer to it or whatever the case may be. So what we simply do is in the last minute of the binary, because the last minute of the binary represents the most important time out the whole 5 minutes. Because whatever the price does during that time determines who wins and who loses the trade. It doesn't matter what it did the first 4 minutes. Whatever it does in the last minute, it's going to determine the winner and the loser of the trade, period. That's it. So that's why we, with focus, study the last minute of the binary as far as the movement of the market. How is the price moving? See? So this is the question that you asked. How is the price moving? And the first way that I want you to visualize it is to visualize it relative to if you were in a trade. So let's just take an example. So let's use this black line right here. This horizontal line represents 2677, right? If you're buying this line, what that means is that in order for you to win this trade, the price has to remain above the line. It has to remain above. So if you were in this trade in the last minute of the binary, how would you actually want the price to move? That's the next question. How would you want price to move? Knowing that in order for you to win, you need price to stay above the line. How would you want it to move if you were in this trade? The way that you would want it to move is away from the line, similar to what you see it doing right now. See how price is moving up, up, and away from the line? That's how you want to see it move if you're in the trade. Because you know that the win is going to be ensured by the price moving further and further away from the line. So that behavior is what we would want to see. Movement away from the line. And then on top of that, we don't want to see the price moving back down towards the line, do we? No, because we don't want any threat of the price attempting to come back towards the line. Any movement towards the line is a threat of the strike. It's a threat of that option. So the behavior that we would want to see ideally is movement away from the line. And when it moves away, you would want it to stay away. So you don't want it to just move away and then move back. Ultimately, that's not what you want to see. And if you do see that, then you know that the behavior currently has a level of what we call jerkiness to it. And the fact that it has jerkiness in it is a lot of information for us. Because the market is letting us know that it is not stable. It's not stable yet. Stability is displayed by the movement being stable, the movement being moving away and staying away relative to whatever line that would be in play, if you were using this as the example, which I'm using as an example first. Okay? So if you were in a trade, that's how you always remember what behavior you need to see. You want to see the type of movement that's moving away from your line and staying away from your line. And ultimately, you wouldn't want to see the price moving back towards your line because that's a threat. And if it is moving back towards your line, you know that there's a level of jerk present, which ultimately means that there's a level of instability present. And instability is not what we want. We want to see stability. We want to see stability of the movement. Okay? Now, so we want to see that type of movement. Now I'm going to give you an example of if you took the line away. If there was no line and you just were observing behavior, it's the same principle. You don't have a line to use as a point of reference, but how would you want the actual price to move? You would want it to move exactly the same way I described it. You want it to move and hold. Being that I'm not using a line as a point of reference in this example, now you can say you want it to move and hold. You want it to move to wherever it goes to, and wherever it goes to, you want it to stay there. You don't want to see it coming back, backstepping, backsliding, moonwalking, stutter stepping. Whatever description or visual representation you have to give yourself to know what stability versus instability looks like, that's what I want you to do. You know that instability looks like, oh, it's moving away, or it's moving in that direction, but then it keeps coming back. Nah, we don't want to see that. And if you're seeing that, you know that there's a level of instability in the market. Stability is going to be reflected by the price moving, and wherever it moves to, it stays there, or at least stays within the vicinity of that point. So you might hear me say, something along the lines of it held for the most part. That means that if the market itself is actually in a smaller or tighter range of movement, then it being in that smaller range would simply mean that for the most part, price held because it did not jerk or reverse in the opposite direction of where the movement initially was. You see? So these are just, I'm going through examples so that you can visualize how price should be moving in order to confirm the second phase, which is behavior. So we want to see that move and hold behavior. We want to see that present. So as a matter of fact, we're coming up now on the minute mark for the current binary. And we're going to just look at the behavior. We're going to observe the behavior, and we're going to see an example of what I'm making reference to. We're going to see what type of behavior is present in the market right now. Okay, so we're almost there. We got another 12 seconds. When we get to that minute mark, we're going to just look at how price moves. And as a matter of fact, I'm not going to do it right this second, but I want you to focus on the actual indicative price. I want you to look at the price. This. Look at this number. Look at how it's moving. So it just went from 801, now it's at 800. Now you see how it's moving back up now? Now it's at 802. So it looks like it's going up, but we don't know if that's the case. It could be just going back and forth. Initially, the movement was starting to go lower. Then it reversed just now. Now, mind you, all I'm doing is looking at the ticket, and I'm looking at the indicative price. I'm not even looking at the candle. I'm looking at this. Let me cover the candle up. I'm looking at this. So you can see that the price, it pretty much remained in that little tight, narrow range. And just from how the price looked Initially, when it opened up, it went down by 1 micropip, and then everything else was up in the upward direction after that. And you'll see the candle look like that. Watch. Look at the candle. See that? It's a green candle, meaning that the price moved up. That's what we were looking at in real time. Okay, so I'm showing you how you actually look at the market itself. I don't want you to focus your attention on the candles. The candles get painted because of what the market is doing. The candles are only there as a reflection of what the market did. When we're studying the market in real time. We're looking at the movement right now, and we're looking to see what the movement is doing, and we can make our determination based on what we see the market doing, period. Even if we didn't have a chart up. If I took the chart away, we would still be able to do everything that I'm describing. Okay, so now these two phases, phases 1 and phase 2, they are of the utmost importance, because if they are not confirmed, you're basically just sitting there waiting for them to confirm. Like, I'm not even, at this moment, I'm not even going into phase 3 and the parameters, because there's no need to. The market still has to first confirm that we're in a slow condition, and it needs to let us know that the behavior is stable. We need to see that move and hold. We want to see that, and we want to see that repeatedly. So once we see that that's taking place and that that's now dominating as far as behavior goes, now we can confirm phase 2. And then we could shift and make our way into the third phase, which is where the parameters are, or the rules for actually entering into a trade. And those are just the rules for a valid setup to take place. Okay? So, again, while we're waiting for phases 1 and 2, we're not doing anything in phase 3 as of yet, because we want to make sure that phases 1 and 2 are confirmed and they're in place. That way we know we have the correct timing now if the parameters end up being confirmed by the market. If the market validates the parameters and we have the correct timing and the correct behavior present in the market already, we now are in a situation where the market is just simply syncing up, and when it syncs up during the right environment with the right behavior, that's a winning trade. I'm able to say that with full confidence because that's the way that I trade. My confidence is in my ability to interpret when the market has confirmed phases 1 and 2. That's what makes it so solid for you. Knowing that the right environment and the right behavior are present, now when you apply the parameters, if it validates, okay, sometimes it won't, sometimes it will. If it does, it's doing it at the right time. It's doing it with the right timing. And then that's where the timing element comes in, because we're dealing with the binary, which is dealing with time. It expires after 5 minutes. It expires at 0. Your timing has to be right in order for you to win the trade, period. So you see how that goes? It's very simple. It's very straightforward. And the way that we study the market and we interpret the information that the market is giving to us is the reason that we win consistently, and is the reason why we will continue to win consistently and avoid losing situations and scenarios in the market. Just like if the market is moving too fast, market is letting us know that it's too fast and to just wait. Just wait. Well, Mark, should I be applying the parameters? Is phase 1 confirmed? Oh, yeah, that's right. Like, these are questions that people will ask me all the time. Mark, I'm not sure which phase I'm in. What's the market doing? How fast is it moving? Look at how my first question came right. As soon as someone says it to me, how fast is the market moving? That's the environment. That's phase 1. Oh, the market is actually moving slow right now. Okay, how slow? Well, I'm seeing ones and twos. How many twos you seeing? You seeing consistent ones, or you seeing a lot of twos in there? Right now, I'm kind of seeing a lot of twos. All right, the market is too fast still. Wait for it to slow down. Then you wait. Maybe the next 2, 3 binaries, market starts slowing down, and you can confirm it now because you're seeing that the dominance of speed is 1 micropip. Now you can say, yeah, we in phase 1, and that's confirmed now. So we're going to move to phase 2. Then you move into phase 2, and you start to do your study for behavior. And as you do that, you do the same thing. How is the price moving? Oh, well, it's actually moving and holding. It's looking good. All right. How many times did you see that? Is that what is dominating right now in the market? Yeah, I saw about 3 or 4 binaries do that. All right, cool. Phase 2 is confirmed. Then you shift into phase 3. Now, when you move into phase 3, because you waited for a slow environment and you waited for the right behavior to be present, now, while you're in phase 3, if the market validates a trade, it's doing it at the right time with the right behavior present. And even with that, when that trade validates and sets up, the behavior at the end of the trade also has to be more of the same of what you've been seeing. Because if you've been seeing consistent move-hold behavior, you know that that behavior is present, but now that behavior has to remain there as the trade validates in phase 3. And I didn't go into phase 3 yet. I'm just explaining the process. In phase 3, when your trade validates, the actual rules for entering a trade validates, if you, with precision and efficiently, confirm phases 1 and 2, now phase 3 is validating at the right time. Does that make sense? Instead of phase 3 just validating because you applied the parameters and it looks like it was a valid setup, but you're not fully aware of what the actual behavior is, or the environment for that matter. The market could start speeding up. But because you're paying more attention to and focusing more so on applying the rules for entering a trade, you're not as focused as you should be on how fast is the market moving. You're not as focused as you should be on how is the market actually moving. What is the behavior that's currently present? You're not focused on that. You're trying to focus on entering a trade based on it being valid. You see? So we're reversing the process. Instead of you putting that emphasis at the forefront where you're trying to get into a trade, the emphasis is on being in the correct environment with the right behavior present and not doing anything until that happens. You see the point that I'm making? So in other words, if that means that you're sitting there waiting for phases 1 and 2 to confirm, and you're not even applying the parameters in phase 3 yet, then that's what you're supposed to be doing. Oh, well, Mark, yeah, it's moving kind of crazy still. I don't like this behavior. All right, it sounds like that phase 2 is not confirmed yet. So now you're not wasting your time applying the parameters trying to validate a trade. You already know that the behavior ain't there, so even if a trade were to validate, it wouldn't matter, because if the behavior is funny at the end of that validated trade, it's not going to be a permission slip for us anyway. And the permission slip is just simply the MRMH, as we call it, which just means Mark's rule, move and hold. And all that means is that in phase 3, not only do all of the parameters validate, but the behavior at the end of that validated setup ends with the move and hold. When you have all of the above that I just mentioned take place, and it ends with move and hold, that represents MRMH, or the permission slip. And MRMH just simply stands for Mark's rule with the move and hold at the end. Mark's rule, move, hold. That's it. And when that happens, it's letting us know that the market completely synced up. It synced everything up. It synced up all the pricing of the option. It synced up the distance from the strike price. It synced up the speed in the market. It synced up the timing, because you know what time was left on the clock by the time the option pricing goes out. So you have all of this valid and valuable information that you're taking with you after you have permission. So once you have permission, because you waited for the environment and for the behavior to be present in advance, now the market is basically much more in position to remain in the environment with the behavior that it has, versus it just being a one-shot deal or a needle in a haystack. You see? If you're just applying parameters, and then you see a trade set up, and it happens to end with the move and hold behavior, but you didn't do the prerequisite work of looking at phases 1 and phases 2 to confirm them first, what are you relying on now? You're relying on what you just saw in that one example. But you don't know if the behavior was already present, and you don't know how solid the environment was. You're just going based off of trying to validate a trade. You see, so the structure of this protocol is designed the way that it is on purpose. It's designed to slow you down. It's designed to create the focus. It is designed so that you're not trying to always get into a trade. We're not trying to get into a trade. We're trying to recognize the correct environment to be in. We're here to recognize the right behavior that should be present before a potential trade could ever set up. Because it's not about a valid trade setting up. It's about us winning a valid trade that sets up. And the reason that we would win a valid trade that sets up is because it's set up with the right timing in the market. You see how that works? What phase would you say we're in right now? And anyone can answer that. Also, if you guys have questions, I encourage you to ask your questions, especially if you're new. What phase are we in at the moment? Okay, Mick says phase 2. Dallas says phase 1. Who agrees with Mick? Rudy says phase 2. Okay. James says phase 2. Mitchell says phase 2. Jelani, phase 2. Adam says phase 2. Okay. So you feel like the market is slow enough right now? That's my first question. Next question is, if you're in phase 2, how far away do you think that you are right now from phase 2 being confirmed? Walker said, never mind phase 2. That last one ruined it. Mick said, with 2 confirmed move holds. So, Mick, you're saying that we have 2 confirmed move holds right now? Is that what you're saying, Mick? Dallas said phase 1 because behavior is not stable. That's almost like an oxymoron. Dallas, what is phase 1? Oh, excuse me. What does it represent? Environment. And environment is representative of speed or behavior? The 1009 or the 1010 binary, that was definitely a jerk. And the thing about that jerk is that the jerk was the timing of the jerk. It was right at the end of the binary. Timing of behavior is very important. Many times when you see speed bursts can be a reflection of speed itself, or it can be as a result of a stall first that popped. But either way, it represents and falls under the category of behavior. However, when the market has speed inherent in it at the time, it will hide behavior. That's why many times you'll see the last second slaps, like the last second jerks that take place, because there's speed in the market and it's hiding the way that the market is actually moving. You see? And then that's when you get the jerk at the end. It looked like it was going to hold and it don't hold. That's that time in the behavior. James said only one moving hold so far out of the last 5 binaries. Right, that's more along the lines of what I'm seeing. Because the 1010 was a jerk, this one. The 1005, this was a jerk. Like, we were actually looking at this. We were looking at all of this. This one right here, the 9 o'clock, no, the 10 o'clock, excuse me, which ended on this candle right here, that one has speed in it. So one of the things that I like to do personally is when I see and detect speed, I automatically shift back to phase 1 because I want to wait before I'm going further for the market to slow down. Like, I want the market to be in slow, solid. Many times you'll catch the market as it is transitioning into a slow condition. You can also be privy to that as well, the transitions. So transitions are very educational also, but you have to just kind of be aware of what it is coming out of and what it's going into. And you know that by being in the correct phase at the moment. That's why I said if the market is too fast, stay in phase 1 and just wait for it to slow down. That way, when you're looking at it in transition, you're paying attention and you're focusing on what needs to be focused on the most at the moment. Whatever behavior is doing becomes obvious when the market's slow. Behavior hides in speed. So if the market is moving too fast anyway, even if you're in phase 2, you're not seeing what the real behavior is, and by the time you do see it, it's at the end somewhere. That's where the timing of the behavior will be off. That behavior will be hidden inside of the speed. So, for example, you might have a fast market, but the market's stable. And then you'll have times when the market is fast and the market is unstable. Now, the fact that it's fast, it's hiding both. You don't know if it's stable or not until the market actually shows it to you. Like the market has to do something to let you know, oh, well, there's actually stability here. You can see stability when the market is moving fast. Can you do anything with it? No. Can you detect it and take note of it? Absolutely. Why is that important? Because what it means is that you're detecting in advance, if you do that, that there is stability present. So that now when the market slows down, and then you see the continuity of stability present, because now the market's slow and you're starting to see move holes. The reason that you're now able to see the move holes and the timing is not off like it was before is because the market slowed down. The speed will throw off the timing of the behavior, so you can't see it right away. That's why if you just remain in the phase, it's not going to matter anyway. You'll always be able to, with efficiency, detect where you are. Market moving too fast, wait for it to slow down. Market is jerky, wait for it to become stable. You see how we haven't even gone beyond that. So we're just right now focused on phase 1 and 2 until it's in solid. Then when it's in solid, now you won't waste your time, so to speak, applying the parameters and moving on to phase 3. Adam said, which is why you always say the market tells you in advance what it's doing, or it tells you to stay out. Bingo. Bingo. Yep. So the fine-tuning of your skill is what you're working on when you condition yourself to remain in the phase that you're in. Like, in other words, if you know that the market is too fast, don't in your mind say, well, I'm in phase 2. Don't do that. Because by you staying in phase 1 until it slows, by the time you shift into phase 2, because the market is now slow, what you're seeing is what the market actually is presenting to you. You see what I'm saying? The behavior, it can't be hidden now in the speed because the market slowed down now. Now you can see the real behavior because it's slow. Market slowed down. Now you can see, oh, yeah, there is jerk. Oh, there is actually jerk now. Okay. And if there is jerk, you know now, because the market's slow, all you got to do is wait for that jerk to subside and for the market to present you with moving hold. And you want to see dominance of that moving hold. So now we get into, okay, environment and behavior dominating with what we are waiting for. Slow condition and moving hold. Rudy's asking, is there an average length of time that a market will be in fast mode versus slow mode? Like if it's moving too fast, it usually lasts 10 to 15 minutes, or it varies too much, so we just have to watch. You just answered your own question at the very end. And I love when you guys do that. It's like as you're asking the question, you're figuring out the answer. And then you just answer the question. Yep. Yep. There's way too many variances and variables to keep up with, to try to box in the market. And that's why, like, I always reiterate that, like, about curve fitting. As soon as you think you found a pattern, it changes. Every time. I mean, that's one of the things that goes on probably the most often and the most frequently. That's why people can't keep up with the market and they start losing when they were winning before. It's like, well, then what happened? What am I doing different? It's not that you're doing anything different. Your pattern is a wrap. Your pattern is finished, and you didn't know that it was a pattern to begin with. You thought that you actually had a strategy. Nah, ain't no strategy. You recognize a pattern, and, you know, for the duration of that pattern being there, that's when you were able to capitalize on it. When that stops, it's over. Rudy said, that's my patience asking, not me. My patience is looking for shortcuts. I know. You know what I am going to do? I am going to leave you guys with one, and I'm not going to call it a shortcut. I'm going to call it a quick go-to. A very quick go-to. It's something that will sum up a lot of things for you with one thing that you look at a quick glance. And I'm going to show you what it is. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you right now. As soon as this gets to around the minute mark, I'm going to let y'all see what I'm talking about. Walker said, took me a year and about half a cajillion losses from trying to take shortcuts to realize how much of a shortcut we already have by executing the process the same way every single time. That's what's so beautiful about it. You already have the shortcut. The protocol is the shortcut. That right there, that's wisdom coming out. That right there is experience and dealing with the market and then getting realization. Yes, definitely poetry. Poetry in motion. Even the ambulance agrees. Alright, so we're coming up on it now. So we had 1:30. Cool. And like I said, this is not a shortcut. It's just a way to glance quickly. And when you just take the quick glance, it tells you a lot of information. I just put it like that. I'll show you right now. So when this gets to a minute, what you do is you look at your option pricing, right? The only thing that you're looking for is to see if there's favorable pricing and to see which direction it's in. So if you look at the pricing right now, you actually have favorable pricing on both sides. Well, now it actually shifted to the buy side. And then now you see it's pricing out. You see that? So in addition to looking at that, you also want to glance at the indicative price. And you want to see where the market actually is. So it's like a quick glance at the minute mark. And you can even start doing it at the 1:30 mark. If at 1:30 you don't have favorable pricing on any options, you know that the market is out of sync, for one, and it's out of position. You know, just like that. So without you even having to apply parameters, you can do that quick glance. And when you do the quick glance, you're just simply looking for two things. You are looking to see if you have favorable pricing, and if you do, which direction or which side is it on. And then you take a quick glance at the indicative price. And when you look at the indicative price, if the favorable pricing and the indicative price are out of sync, you know that everything's out of sync. So in other words, what I'm saying is, like, say that your pricing on the option was in the 70s on the buy. But then you look at the indicative, that the indicative is only 3 micropips above the strike. What is that telling you? You got favorable pricing in the 70s, but your indicative is 3 micropips above the strike price. What is that telling you? If you looked at the market with about a minute left on the clock and you saw that, what is that telling you? 70s on the buy and indicative 3 micropips above the strike. What is that letting you know? Mick said no distance. Walker said I likes that. I know. Adam said it's in position. Now, are you saying it's in position, or do you mean it's out of position? Jelani said that it is getting close. Okay. Both are fair answers. Walker said it's in position to get into position. That's a better way of saying that it's not in position yet, but it is positioned to get in position. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good way to put it. James said it'll probably be in the early 80s when it gets to 5 micropips, but it may not. What if it gets into the 80s and prices out and it stays at 3? Then what is that telling you? It stayed at 3 and you at 85 on your option price. Now what is that telling you? Bingo. That's it. It's out of sync, period. So at that point, it don't even matter what's causing it to be out of sync. The fact that you know that it's out of sync, it puts you in a place where you're just able to monitor the environment to make sure that the speed is not present, and you want to also stay in the phase where you are. So if you know that the market's slow, as indicated by the indicative price, now you want to know what the behavior is. Because if the market is showing you that there are signs of it syncing up, even though it's not in sync yet, but it's showing signs of syncing up, you definitely want to know in advance if your behavior is also what it needs to be. So that if the market does sync up, you know already that the behavior is present or not. You see, like, you just have the information that you need. Here, look at this one. You see right here, you got favorable pricing on the buy side. You see where you see it's in the 70s now? Look at the indicative though. 76, now it's at 80. And look at your indicative. What is it telling you? Out of sync. It's out of sync. So now, after you see that it's out of sync, then you just look at what the behavior is at the end. And you got all the information that you need for that binary. You already know that it's out of sync. So it's not like you going through the whole process of applying the parameters. You just took a quick glance. And at the end of that quick glance, you just look at what the behavior is at the end of the binary so that you can stay on top of the behavior. And that right there, that behavior right there is moving whole. And I don't even have the chart up. But right at the end, you saw how the price accelerated. It pushed up. That's going to be a green candle on the chart, and it's going to be solid at the top of the candle. Watch. That was this one right here. And it looked like it might have been off by maybe one. So whatever the movement was in there, the way that the candle recorded it, it left a little tiny wick on the top. But you can see that the way that the price moved, it did it at the end of the binary. At the end. So look at all the information you have. You're aware of the timing of the behavior. So you know that the pop is taking place at the end. And on top of that, you already knew and saw that the pricing on the platform was out of sync with the indicative. So you knew that it's out of sync, and the timing is off slightly with behavior. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of information, because you're doing it at a glance. You're not sitting there like trying to super overanalyze anything. You're not doing that. Quick glance. Minute. Look at your pricing. You got favorable pricing on something? Cool. Look at the indicator. Where is it? Oh, the distance is only 2 or 3 micros. Above or below the strike. Continue to watch your pricing. You got favorable pricing. Watch and see when it prices out. When it prices out, where's the indicative at that time? Oh, the indicative is still in the same spot. All right, clearly it's out of sync. It's out of sync, but then when you look at behavior, that's going to tell you even more information. Is the time of the behavior also off while it's out of sync? Or is the behavior what it should be? A lot of information that the market is telling you at a glance. So like this is, it's not a shortcut, because it's just you looking at elements of the process and you taking the most relevant information at a glance in order to know what the market's doing. And look at how quick you're doing it. Walker said, I look at the price distance correlation like vases for sale at an auction. 1 micropip vase should be worth around 50-ish, 2 to 3 should be 60-ish, 4 to 5 should be low high 70s, and 6 to 8 should be high 70s, low 80s. In the environment where value is true. That's a lot of data right there. That's a lot of data. And see, that's powerful, because that's a point of reference. And the funny thing about it is that he's right. He's right. Like, see, that's not even something that I would tell you. I wouldn't tell you that, because you're going to see that for yourself. I didn't tell him that. How he know that? How does he know that? Observation. He studies. He talk about signals. Like, look, here's a good example here. You got the minute mark. What has favorable pricing? The sell right there on the 26.79 has favorable pricing. It was in the 20s. Look at your indicative. 2 micropips under. See how the pricing now is priced out? It's only 3 micros under. It's still out of sync. And on top of that, your pricing is going in and out too. It's out of sync. So now you just look at what behavior does at the end. You see what I'm saying? So you're looking at the connection between the out of syncness and the behavior to see if they're intertwined. Are they connected to one another, or is behavior separating itself from the pricing and the market being out of sync? Like, what's happening? You see what I'm saying? And all of that is telling you a lot of information. Like that one right there, the behavior at the end of this, it held. See? So now, if and when this syncs up, you know that the behavior is already present. You already know that because you've already been observing and studying in advance. You were monitoring behavior the whole time. You don't have to ask, man, oh, that one right there, the market finally synced up. But I'm not sure about this behavior, though. I don't know. I'm not sure. Nah, you know what the behavior already is. And when it gives you that behavior that you know is there already at the end of that valid trade setup, that's going to be MRMH. That's how I'm able to do it so fast, because I do this process just like that. I don't look at nothing. Like right now, I'll be watching The Sopranos or something. And I don't even come to the chart until the timer goes off. Timer goes off at 1:30. Timer goes off, I come look to see if there's favorable pricing. If I see that there is, I look at the indicative and see where it is. If I see that it's off, distance is garbage, cool. I look to see when this price is out, look at it again, distance is still garbage. It's out of sync. I know that it's out of sync already. There's no trying to force anything. We're just observing. And the fact that it's out of sync, I want to see if that has a relationship with the timing of behavior also. Or is behavior separating itself? You see what I'm saying? Like, are they connected or are they separate? That's a quick glance. You're looking at everything, but mind you, you're only looking at three things. You're looking at option pricing, where the indicative is, and then what the behavior is at the end. That's it. James said, is it safe to say when pricing is priced out at 1:30 that no trade will set up because it's out of sync? Most of the time that is the case. Most of the time that's the case. Not all the time, because sometimes it depends on what the market is actually doing. The market can get in position after 1:30. So at 1:30, it might look like it ain't nothing. Then it moves in position. By the time you get to the minute mark, now it's in position. You see the option pricing change. Then you can make the determination if it's out of sync from that point. That's why in the actual third phase, 1:30 is separate from under a minute. From 1:30 down to a minute, you're just observing speed. You see what I'm saying? Like you're doing the prerequisite as part of the parameters. You just want to make sure that your speed is still slow. You notice that the market is moving too fast. It's throwing everything off. Everything going to be off anyway. Your pricing going to be looking funny. The indicative going to be all over the place wherever it is. So you can't even apply parameters, really. It would be a waste of time because you know already the market's too fast. Like you already have that information. Jelani said the pricing can come back in sometimes if that happens. Right. He said you just have to trust your skill in the protocol to know what to note and to take away from your observation of that. Bingo. Bingo. That was good. That was very good, Jelani. Look, here's a good example. Look at this one. 26.75, right? Coming up on a minute. Look at your pricing on the option. Favorable. Look, now it's priced out. Look how fast it priced out. Now it's coming back in. Look at what your indicative's doing. Back ticking. You see the behavior? So the behavior's off. It's slightly off. Not only that, it's still out of sync. You know that though. You already know that. But is it now more in sync or is it less in sync? Or I should say more out of sync or less out of sync than it was. See, that's kind of where it leaves you. It's like, all right, well, is this improving or is it actually, getting a little worse than it was? You actually had more pricing under a minute, but it just went out sooner. And you saw that it went out sooner because of the distance on your indicative. You were at 4.3, so that was about 7 micropips underneath the strike. You were at 7 MP under the strike. That's why your pricing went out. Look at the behavior. How did it hold up? Did it actually hold? For the most part, it held because the range was small. You see what I'm saying? Like, look at how small this range was during that minute just now. The distance was only from 4.4 to 4.1. It was 3 micropips. It was only 3 micropips. And it looks like the price might have pulled up to the first micropip. So it pulled back by 2. But the range was only 3. It's a lot of information right there. A lot of information. You had pricing on the option with a distance of 7. That's a lot of information. Like, you see how much information you're gathering just from, you know, this little exercise that you're doing. The quick glance. And you can do this without the chart. Notice how I keep making the chart invisible. So you can see you're just doing it by looking at option pricing and where the indicative is. And you just, you know, rinse and repeat. You're doing this over and over and over and over again. You're doing that. You're looking at how behavior ends. It's a quick glance. But mind you, you're doing the protocol. You're just doing it fast. You're doing it quickly. I can do that, and if MRMH comes, I'll see it. Just doing this. If anything goes on, I'm going to see it. If the market speeds up, I see that. I can see it all. Market slows down, I see that. Market still out of sync, I see that. Tight market, I can see that too. There's nothing that you can't see. So the information is just letting you know how close to or how far away from a potential MRMH that you actually are right now, based on everything. And you know what it is to wait for. Like right now, if the market was to speed up and start just moving fast, I'm going to just step away probably and come back because I know I got to wait for it to slow down. Skill, man. It's just different layers of executing the same skill set all the time. And these little tools just make it easier for you to do it. Like, this is no different than the option pricing exercise. You know, you do that without even looking at the indicative. But the purpose of that is to know whether or not stability is present. You're just watching until you see stability. Then you can go further. Once you see their stability, that tells you a lot of information. Now you know, oh, the market has stability in it. So what does it have to do? Oh, it has to sync up. You see, we're doing the same thing right here with this exercise. You're looking at, you're looking for favorable pricing. Once you see that you have that, look at your distance. If your distance is off, you know it's out of sync. So you know to wait for it to get in sync. That's it. Yep, practicing the protocol, executing the skill. That's it. And then rinse and repeat. Look, like right now, under the minute mark, it's priced out. Option is priced out. Right? You know why it's priced out. Because the distance away from the strike price has to be that significant. And it is. Look at where it is. It was 9 micropips above the 26.77. That's why this was priced out. Now, you look at behavior. Let's see how it behaves. Started out at 7.8, right? Started out at 267.78. Now, it went as high as 8.1. Now it's back at 7.9. So now it's back closer to where the price started. Now it's back to where the price started. What type of behavior is that so far? That's a jerk so far. Mind you, you're looking at the indicative. You know that that's a jerk. It went up as high as 81, and it's ending back down right around where it started. Now, when I pull up the chart and look at the candle, you'll see a wick on the top of the candle. Watch. Right there. See that wick? And mind you, it's a tight range. Only 3 micros. And you did this. You were able to see this just by looking at the binary ladder. You saw all that information up here, just looking at option pricing and the indicative. You got behavior here, and you were able to see that the market was out of sync. Quick information. You got to act on it? No, there's nothing to do yet. But you know where you are. It's like having navigation. You got GPS all the time. You're the GPS. Rudy says, so if your skills are good enough, are you saying you could trade without even have to look at the chart? Of course. Of course. He said, can you rely solely on reading the binary ladder? Yes. Matter of fact, I encourage you to do that. I'm not telling you that just so that, you know, you can feel like, oh yeah, I'm good. Nah, I'm telling you that because that's what you can do. You do it already. The chart is just a visual representation of what you're doing. But when I'm looking at the market, I'm not even looking at the chart. Even when the chart is up like this, I'm not even looking at the chart. This is just for purposes of everyone who is watching. Like when I'm recording my trades, this so that people can see what the market's doing. So when I say stuff like, oh, I got to stay above this line, they see a line. They wouldn't understand if I was trading and it just was this. Nobody would know what we're talking about. They'd be like, wait, he's in the trade? What trade? Where's the trade? I don't see it. They wouldn't know. You see what I'm saying? So the visual representation of the trade is what the chart is reflecting. Do you need the actual chart for you to apply skill? Of course not. Everything is right here. You can do everything from the ticket. If I pulled up a ticket, just like this, I do everything right here from the ticket. And in the past, I actually have videos where I had no chart up, and I just had the ticket up, and I was trading from the ticket, just like this. This is where all the information is. It's in the binary ladder. It's on the ticket. You don't even need the chart. And I just mean as far as you executing your skill. You don't need it. And for some people, they get confused because now they start to analyze the candles. Remember that the candles are an after effect. Look, we're going to do an example, another one, right here when this goes down to a minute. We're going to do the quick glance, and then we're going to interpret the behavior. Okay? See, like right now, you see how I was at 1:30 and change? You see how everything's priced out? You know why it's priced out. The indicative is too far away from the strikes, so you don't have no pricing on none of the options. That's why everything's priced out. The indicative is way above everything. Way above. So now, a minute mark, look at where you start out. You start at 837. Well, 838, we'll say. You start at 838. Now look and see what the behavior is going to be. Price is moving lower. It went from 838 to 834 so far. So the highs was 838, lowest was 834. Highest is 8, lowest is 4. Started at 8. Now it's back at 8. Now it's going up. Highs so far been 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, 6, 8, 9. Like the price is just pushing up right now. And I'm going to describe how the candle is going to look. Watch. It went as high as 8.5. So it's been as high as 8.5, and it's been as low as 3. 3.6. So it's been as high as 8.5 and as low as 8.36, something like that. So you're going to have a wick on the top, and you're going to have a short wick on the bottom. And the candle is going to be green. Watch. Watch this. Look. Wick on the top, wick on the bottom, candle is green. We just did that looking at the indicative price move. You understand the level of skill that you have? And you know already what type of behavior was that. I didn't even have the chart up. Look at what Jelani just said. Jerk. He just said it before I even pulled the chart up. He said that's a jerk with wicks on both sides. I don't even have the chart up. How did he know that? Because this is what we do. Rudy said, very interesting. Sounds like we're going full circle. Before technical analysis, traders used to read the tape. Right. It looks like we're going back to reading the tape, per se. If you think about it in that perspective, we're doing what the floor traders do. The actual market makers. They're looking at the ticker. They're looking at volume. They're looking at the actual price that trades took place at. They know what time and what size the last trade took place at. Like, they're looking at detailed information about the market, the depth, all of the information that's relevant for them to find the best price for their customer, because they're floor traders. That's what their job is. Then you got the traders that's in the auction. They're the ones in there actually shouting out prices based on trying to get a market order filled. Like if somebody places an order for X amount of shares, they're in the pit. They're in the pit getting the best available price. They're throwing out their number. Somebody is on the other side of that trade. They throw out their number. Confirm, whatever they say, to confirm that order was executed. And then they write the information down on the ticket. That's how it was done. Now all of it is electronic and it's done online. So for purposes of how we're looking at the market, we're analyzing the market just looking at the numbers. And mind you, we're interpreting how price is moving. We're interpreting the environment of the market. We know how the candle going to end up looking without looking at the chart. Oh, Mark, why we don't have no indicators? We don't need no indicators. This is about timing. We are trading binaries. In order for you to win your trade, you have to be correct about the timing, period. If your timing is off, I don't care how well you identify the trend and all of that. If your timing is off, you're going to lose that trade. Oh, man, it was going up, and then out of nowhere, it just turned around. Yeah, because you were not observing behavior at all. You don't even know how the market is moving. You don't know how the market is moving. See what I said? You don't know how it's moving. You don't understand the behavior. Look, let's do this one. So we coming on the minute, right? Right there, pricing is already priced out. It's under 17. So you know that your distance under here, it's at 9. It's 9 micropips away. That's why it was priced out. So 9 micropips away. Now we're going to study and observe the behavior. Started at 4.1. Now it's at 4.2. It's at 4.3. 7. And the reason that you got pricing back is because the price is now threatening the strike. It's at 4.7. It just went back up to 4.7 from 4.1. So it came within 3 micros of the strike. That's why you had pricing here again. Started out priced out. Went up as high as, what, 20-something, almost $30 on the bid. Mind you, we doing this, we don't even got the chart up. And we're doing all of this. And you know how it ends. Look at where it ends, 4.2. So it ends right towards the bottom where it started. It went up as high as 4.7. How that candle going to look? The candle's going to have a long wick on the top, and it is going to, where did it end at 4.2 or 4.1? If it ended at 4.2, it's going to have a long wick on the top, and it's going to be green. Watch. Look. Wick on the top, green. And also, you know, the timing of these candles, they paint different than what you're actually seeing in real time also. I didn't even mention that. Sometimes the candles paint different with different timing. That's why I tell you don't look at this indicative price here on the chart, because it moves slightly different than the real indicative. Man, this is why our skill continues to elevate. Adam said it forces you to actually pay attention to the market and not be tempted to just glance at a candle. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Walker said we do the indicating. Yep. Yep. Jelani was right. Upside down T. Little green. Yep. Mick said, my observation shows me that the candles move with the price in the black box. Exactly. No way to truly observe the speed. Bingo. You can observe everything just right here. Even if you want to, you know, sharpen your skills further with the ticket, open up a ticket. Do it from there. You can open up a ticket. You can do the whole thing from the ticket. Matter of fact, we're going to do this next one from the ticket. I'm going to cover all of this up so you can just see the ticket information. I'm going to show you how good you really are already. Watch. So when we get closer to a minute, I'll take another look and see where the favorable pricing is. And if I have to, I'll switch the option. I'll switch out the ticket, I should say, when we get around the minute mark. All right, so this one is looking like it's going to be priced out. And the one under is also, because of the position of where the market is. See how the market, like, you see where the indicative is, 2682? It's sitting in between the strikes. And when it does that, that's when your pricing is off. Like, you're going to be priced out. But anyway, we're still going to do it. So, yeah, let me pull up this one. I pull up the ticket for the sell. So it's priced out. Now you see pricing coming back in, so you know that your indicative is going up. When this started, this was at, where was this just now when this started? At 2.1? I want to say 2.1. Okay, it is. So this was at 2.1 when it started. So far, it went up as high as what, 2.6? Okay. So 2.1 is the bottom and 2.6 is the top. Now it's at 2.7, 2.8. So 2.8 is the top, 2.1 is the bottom. Look at all of that movement in between. Now look at that. 2.8 was the top. Now 1.5 is the bottom. 28 top, 15 bottom. 28 top, 15 bottom. And look at where it ends. It ends around 12. So 28 top, 12 bottom. started out at 21, right? So it started at 21, went as high as 28, ended around 12. So how that candle gonna look? Started at 21, went up to 28, and then ended at 12. So it's gonna have a wick on the top, and it's gonna be red, and it's gonna have body from 21 down to 12. So it's gonna be a red body and have a red wick on the top. Watch. Red body, red wick on the top. See that? Come on, man. Come on. And we already knew that was jerk. We knew that. So, you know, so like this is what I mean as far as sharpening your skill set. Just the fact that you're able to do it. You can pick. You can do it from the binary ladder. You can do it from a ticket. You don't need the chart. And when you do the quick glance, you know, you can do something else in the background. Set your timer. Come to the chart at 1:30. Do the quick glance. And just observe behavior. Look and see how your behavior is looking while the market is out of sync. Because you already know that it's out of sync. You're going to see that. You're going to pick up on that. If you got favorable pricing and you don't have distance, out of sync. If you're just priced out, go and observe behavior at the end. Because you being priced out means that the distance is too far away from the strike price for there to be pricing. That's why you're priced out. The distance is too far away from the strike. Man, this is powerful stuff, man. Powerful. Yeah, right. It did come up a little bit at the end. Exactly. And remember, see, the candle, the candles are capturing a different time. It's a slightly different timing. Sometimes the timing is slightly off. It's not going by the same clock up here. So when I do it, I'm going by the clock up here because the clock up here is what the daggone binary is doing. If you were in a trade, it's going to be this clock. It's not going to be the candle. See, that's another thing, too, that I want to point out. You know that there are instances where you'll look at the chart and people will say, oh, well, the chart is saying it closed at this price. No, we don't go by the chart. We do not go by the chart. Nadex is going by the indicative and the clock. Wherever this indicative ends, when this clock is at 0, they call it the Nadex settlement value, or the settlement value index, whatever it's called. But whatever that number is in the email that you get, where this ends, that's the number. Wherever that ended at 0, that represents where the indicative price ended, period. And that's the number that they're going by to determine the wins and the losses. So that's why we don't go by the chart. And I'm glad that we're talking about this and that we even opened up this dialogue, because I want to show you guys and put the emphasis on your true skill that you actually have. So here's another one. So I open up this ticket right here for the sell. So look, see, you just had pricing in the 30s, now it's up there. So you already know that the price already moved. You know that your indicative moved. And look at where it is now. It's back in the 30s. Right, speed, automatically. You seeing all of that fluctuation in your option price, and you know that the market is too fast. Then you can just observe what the behavior is at the end, see what that's doing, and then keep it moving. But you know that there's too much speed, and the speed is hiding whatever might be there. There could be stability there, but it's too fast for you to tell right now. It's too much speed. And then also the timing of behavior. Look at that movement right there at the end. It went 3-1, then it went as low as 2-8. So now when you look at the candle, Look at how it ended up looking. It ended up looking like this. Jerk. Jerk. Come on, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so I mean, you know, another tool in the arsenal, you know, that you can use, the quick glance without the chart. Close the chart, move it, whatever, and just look at your ladder or open up a ticket and do it from there. And just practice, you know, observing at a quick glance the most relevant parts of what you're looking at the time. That's it. Like right now, speed increased, so you know that you basically back to phase one. Needs to slow down. Needs to slow down. Right. Exactly. Exactly. People still want to trade with all of this going on because they're a little retarded, man. They're thirsty and a little bit retarded. Some of them is just straight retarded. Oh man! All right, let's get out of here. So new students, he said only the juice man. The juice man is nice. He's good. He's good. Oh, Dallas, you like this, huh? Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure I'll incorporate this into the training. I think that it's very useful. I definitely think it is. Even if you're new, you can kind of grasp and understand things better by not being limited and confined to the chart. Because the chart is what everybody's used to. You know, they're used to doing everything from the chart and doing everything based off the chart. We're doing everything based off the market. Chart or no chart. All right, so new students, video number 336 and video number 301, the two trainers that you want to begin with. Make sure that you watch number 301 on repeat. Tonight's training should be available within the next half hour or so. We'll be back on training tomorrow night, same time, same place. And make sure that if you have questions or concerns that you post them in the group chat. Group chat is up 24/7, so we always in there. You'll get a response. You get what you need. Stay close to the fire. All right? I'll see everyone on training tomorrow, and I'll see you guys momentarily in the group chat. Love, peace, and soul. Good night, everybody.